Previously on Mort's Miniatures vlog.
I'd like to see you do something with those random mutation tables.
Okay, but I want to see you do one too.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. I'll roll something up as well and let's see what we can do.
And just to make it more interesting, what we'll do is we'll swap miniatures and we'll paint what each other has built.
And now the conclusion.
Hello and welcome to another vlog.
Mort, parcel for you. Think fast.
Okay, let's see what Gav sent me. Read after opening mini. Right, this seems to be the thing itself. Oh, I have no idea what this is going to be. What do we got? It's, oh, that's weird. Right. So, we've got like a lizard man tail on there. Legs that I think came from a bloodletter, but I'm not sure. It's got weird, like, animalistic legs on there. Very nice sculpting. Can you see how nice the sculpting is on this? Right, it's got a flaming skull for a head. That is kind of awesome. And tentacles! That's cool. And that appears to be Chaos armour, I think, or at least some kind of armour. Is that breastplate off a high elf, maybe? Weird. It's a quite interesting mixture of parts, yeah.
It's a configuration of different pieces.
Yeah, this should be interesting to paint. Really nice sculpting from Gav here. Yeah, I cannot sculpt anything like he can. Detail on the armour there. He's added to it. Yeah, this is why we call him Greenstuff Gav. He's good with the green stuff. Textured plastic art base there. I'm hoping he's followed one of my tutorials to do that. Very fine brickwork pattern on the plastic art there. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. Maybe I can make it look like a mosaic or something. Yeah, that should be interesting. Right, let's see what the note says then. Okay, it's a Chaos Dwarf it started life as, right. And it's fast, it has tentacles, a flaming skull face, as we thought, extra joints, hence the legs I'm guessing, tail, and it's a demon. Excellent. This in itself is a nice touch, because, well, at least from this side, it looks like some piece of parchment, and it's like a chaosy font. Would you call it a font if it's handwriting? He's done it in a chaosy way, that's cool. Right, that's enough looking at it. Let's get to painting. I started out with an undercoat of MP Black Primer. I nearly always undercoat using a brush because it's the most reliable method. The results you get from spray cans are far too easily affected by the heat and humidity of your environment. And I live in Britain, where the weather changes quickly, like the weather in Britain. Also, you still have to go back and touch up the undercoat with a brush anyway, so you might as well just start with a brush. And I see no advantage to using an airbrush either. Yeah, undercoating is probably my least favourite part of painting a miniature. It seems straightforward at first, but there's a lot of having to turn the miniature over and going back over things and cover all the spots you've missed. And there is always one last little spot the paint just didn't get to. Once the undercoat's had a while to dry, the next stage of my painting process is the browning.
But what is browning?
I'm so glad you asked. Browning is a technique I've been using for the better part of 2 decades. It's a bit like the zenithal highlighting technique, which became popular recently, but the results are a lot smoother and you don't need an airbrush. I began with a heavy dry brushing of Battlefield Brown straight over the black undercoat. Next I did a medium dry brushing of Hairy Brown. And finally a lighter dry brushing of Barbarian Leather. The idea is that these 3 layers of brown form a foundation for all the shading and highlights I'll be doing later on. And you can in fact use any 3 browns you like as long as they're progressively lighter. So it was around about this time that I dropped the miniature and it broke its base. So I set about pinning the miniature back to its base. I drilled into the foot and used a paperclip to create a pin. I also drilled a corresponding hole in the base. But rather than immediately sticking the miniature back to its base, I decided to keep them separate. This allowed me to more easily get to the underneath of the miniature. And it also meant I could do much more elaborate paintwork on the base. But we'll get back to that. With the browning done, it was time to start work on the colours. To help give the miniature a demonic appearance, I used Sanguine Base, Scorn Red, and Kador Red Base on all the organic and fleshy parts. I started out with a solid but thin coat of the Sanguine Base. This allows the shading and the highlights of the browning beneath to show through. I then dry brushed over this using Scorn Red. Followed by a light dry brushing of Kador Red Base as a final highlight. For the skull, I dry brushed Bubonic Brown straight over the original browning. This was followed by Menoth White Base, and a final light dry brushing of Menoth White mixed with Morrow White. I base coated the armour and all the metal parts with Hoja Tinny Tin. I then dry brushed this with pig iron. I used brass and molten bronze to pick out various details on the armour. Hi, post-production Mort here. Just a quick note that I've tried to use the best footage I've got of the painting, but I actually hate painting on camera. It's really restrictive trying to keep everything in frame and have the lighting good enough for the camera, but also good enough to paint by. So I've used the best footage I've got, but the framing and lighting may not always be great because I've prioritised painting over being able to film the painting. The fur got a thin base coat of Blood Tracker Brown. Which I then highlighted with Hairy Brown. The little gems on the armour were given a base coat of Scorn Red, and carefully highlighted with Ruby Red. The claws and spikes were given a base coat of beast hide. Followed by hammerful khaki. And finally highlighted with Menoth white base. I used a mixture of soft tone and strong tone ink to add some extra shading to the fur and to grunge up the armour. Then I used Nuln Oil to add some black lining to the joints of the armour. And to shade the inside of the skull's mouth. To paint the flames I started with a base coat of Sanguine base. Then a heavy dry brushing of Scorn Red. Cador Red base. Followed by Blood Angels Red. Then a dry brushing of Hobgoblin Orange. Then a slightly lighter dry brushing using a mixture of Hobgoblin Orange and Sulphuric Yellow. It's during these last few steps that I like to also dry brush the area surrounding the flame. This simple but very effective technique makes it look like the flames are glowing. I used a very light dry brushing of a mixture of Sulphur Yellow and Morrow White as a final extreme highlight on the flames. Then I used a little bit of Morrow White on its own to touch up the skull and surrounding spikes. Finally, I mounted the miniature onto one of my wallpaper texture bases, which was painted in the usual way I paint stone.
Hang on, what happened to the original base?
Oh, that? That I got rather carried away with and painted a quite intricate mosaic pattern on, which really didn't fit with the miniature, so I put that to one side for now. And here we are at last, fully painted. Yeah, this came out rather nicely, I think. It's slightly off the scale as always. Yeah, this is a really nice miniature to paint. Once I'd figured out to sort of lean into the demonic angle and paint all the organic bits in the sort of demonic red colour scheme I normally use, the rest of it sort of painted itself. I knew what areas be what colour. I've got the armour there, of course, painted like my Chaos Warrior's armour. Fur, brown fur. No need to play around with that. And, you know, bone, flames, spiky bits. It's one of those nice models that sort of paints itself once you know what you're doing. Quite quite pleased with the flame effect on the skull there. Hopefully this lighting is doing it justice over the camera. Subtle sort of glow effect around it. Which, looks like it's come out alright. Yeah. This should be an interesting addition to my Chaos Forces, and will fit in with my Chaos Warriors and my Mutants quite nicely, I think. Here it is with one of my Hero Quest Chaos Warriors. The pose is really good too. I think Gav put a lot of work into that. You got the legs, of course, kicked up into a running position. You got the tail sort of trailing behind there, and got the flames, of course, whipping back as he runs, and the tentacles are done in such a way that they look like they're kind of flailing around randomly. I like to think this thing probably makes the kind of hissing, screaming noise as it runs around. Yeah, it's a rather nice, if bizarre creature. Certainly one of the weirdest models in my collection, but a fine addition to it nonetheless. And that's about it for this vlog. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you're subscribed to my channel, like this video. I need a goodbye catchphrase. You suck! Just aim for my forehead or something, you know? Should have got Trev, he'd have got me straight in the head, knocked me unconscious. Close! But it actually hit me that time.
Yes. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know why I came up with this idea.
Oh. Yep. I think we'll probably use that take. No, keep going.
You're a sucker for punishment.
Yes, love it. This is how I got a headache.
That's enough.
And action.
More parcel for you. Heads up.
That was nowhere near the camera.
More parcel for you. Heads up.
That's better.
More parcel for you. Heads up.
Brilliant.
I'm getting closer and closer to the camera.
Yes. To be fair, I don't think it'll harm the camera if you hit it.
No. More parcel for you. Think fast. No damage to the camera.
No.
No.
Not that I'm aware of yet.
More parcel for you. Think fast. And I am actually literally knocking the camera upwards now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yep.
More parcel for you. Think fast. Parcel for you, sir.